Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, St. Cloud area, welcome to this forum featuring candidates for the District 742 School Board. Thank you, candidates, for attending and participating in this event. We thank District 742 for making arrangements to meet in the district administration offices and for recording this forum. This event is currently being broadcast live on YouTube and will be available for later viewing through a link on the District 742 website. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. This means we do not support or oppose particular political parties or individual candidates, but we do study and take positions on issues. We sponsor candidate forums because we believe informed citizens are the foundation of democracy. I am Linda Salp, a member of the St. Cloud Area League, and I will moderate this forum. Susan Smith and Ginny Clark, will be the timekeepers. We moderate candidate forums according to a standard protocol that is designed to be fair and open. The candidates have accepted the format in advance. Audience members, you received a summary of the forum procedures as follows, and I will read them. No campaign or partisan materials, signs, buttons, literature, or printed apparel may be worn, displayed, or distributed in the forum room. Such materials can be offered on a table provided outside. Please silence personal devices such as cell phones and pagers. The League of Women Voters St. Cloud area reserves the right to tape and photograph this event and publish the results. Audience members, except for authorized persons, should refrain from using any electronic devices to record this forum. Anyone doing so in a way that is disruptive or distracting may be asked to leave. Questions will come from the audience in written form on the cards provided. Question facilitators will receive, sort, and forward audience questions to the moderator. Questions of a related nature may be condensed or combined. Questions must be brief, and lengthy statements will not be accepted. Questions should relate to specific issues the candidates would normally address as public officials in this particular office. Questions on unrelated topics or of a personal nature will not be allowed. All questions become the property of League of Women Voters St. Cloud area. All candidates will All candidates will be given a chance to answer each question. Participants are asked to remain quiet while candidates are speaking so that everyone can hear responses. All applause will be held until the forum is complete and the moderator invites it. Audience members, you are invited to address questions to the candidates using the cards provided. We also received questions by email from the public in advance. All questions must be relevant to specific issues the candidates would normally address as school board members. Each candidate in attendance will have the opportunity to answer all questions. 6 candidates will be on the November 8 general election ballot for 3 open District 742 school board seats. They are in alphabetical order by last name: Mike Bueckers, Theresa Carlstedt, Zachary Dorholt, Nicole Rierson, Natalie Ringsmuth. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order, and their opening statements will be offered in the order they are seated. After that, the order for answering will be rotated in random order. Candidates, you will each be allowed the following amounts of time: 1 minute for an opening, 1.5 minutes to answer each question from the audience, and 1 minute for a closing statement at the end of the question and answer period. A timekeeper will hold up a yellow card when you have 30 seconds left. The red card that says time means finish your sentence and stop. The St. Cloud School Board has important responsibilities, including to set policies for District 742, to manage the district's finances in a fiscally responsible manner, and to ensure that all schools in the district have the support needed to provide quality education at all grade levels. Candidates, we are ready to begin opening statements. You will each have 1 minute to state why you are running for school board member, beginning with Mike Bueckers.
Good evening, voters, for holding the forum tonight, and everyone else for coming out and attending. I am Mike Bueckers. I'm a St. Cloud local, born and raised here in St. Cloud. I am a 742 alumni, went through K through 12 here in St. Cloud, so my connection to the district is quite personal and very strong. Shortly after high school, I moved to China to learn language and work. During my 14 years in China, I was able to achieve many things while there. I received a high proficiency certificate of completion in Mandarin Chinese, 7 years of ESL teaching experience, 6 years of working in the film and media industry, acquired valuable skills related to multicultural and bilingual environments. Started a family when I was there. My first son was actually born there. And after moving back in 2016, I am now an entrepreneur and a business owner here in St. Cloud. I'm a dad of two, a 14-year-old and a 5-year-old. I believe that we have a great district, great teachers and staff, and I would be honored to sit on the Board of Education and earn your vote. Thank you.
Theresa?
Hello, my name is Theresa Carlstedt. I'm running for District 742 School Board. I am from St. Cloud, Minnesota as well. I am from a large family. I have 7 siblings. My brother played in District 742 on the hockey team all through the years, and I had a special needs sister that went to the district as well. So I still work in the special needs community and really advocate for the special needs. One of the reasons why I am running, well, several of them, is one is to help our community, help kids. We have to bring up graduation rate, bring up schools and reading grades that have need assistance with that. But my husband and I are both members of the community. We're both self-employed. We're entrepreneurs in the field as well.
Zachary?
Good evening. My name is Zachary Dorholt. I'm a licensed mental health professional. Most of my work I spend in a correctional setting. And part of that is why I want to continue running. I get to see what happens to our kids when they fall through the cracks. And I want to make sure our district can provide everything it can, because we know a lot of these kids are coming to us without a foundation that they need at home. And while it can't be our job to tell their parents what to do, we have opportunities to help get these kids where we want to be. And that's what guides me. I have 3 kids all in this who go to this district in 742 and all at Madison. And I want them to have the same opportunities I had going to school in Minnesota as well. So thank you for coming. This is awesome turnout.
Nicole?
Is it done? All right, thank you all for coming, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for having us. My name is Nicole Rierson. I'm a mother and soon-to-be grandmother. Proud resident of St. Cloud for 23 years. I love my city. I love District 742, and I have served in the district as a special education teacher, a substitute, both long and short-term, and as an assessment specialist in the district up until this last year. So this gives me the knowledge of day-to-day issues that come to our teachers and our students. I decided to run for a seat when I realized that although there are many areas that I love about the district, there are areas of concern. When I was talking to colleagues, community members, different parents, they also shared some of the same concerns. I decided that I wanted to be an active part of the solution. People that know me know that you can complain once, and after that, you need to be part of the solution and take action. So I'm looking for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Natalie?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie, and I first of all want to thank my colleagues up here for running for school board. We may have markedly different platforms we're running. Tough. Being up here is tough, even though y'all are beautiful out there. This is tough. And I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for letting us have this tough thing. I want to tell you that I'm the mother of 3 teenagers, so basically that means I can do anything. If you can have 3 teenagers in one house and keep food in the fridge, amazing. I'm a nonprofit director. I'm an anti-racism trainer at St. Cloud State University and with Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. I have a music education degree from Concordia Moorhead, a certificate of executive leadership from St. Thomas. I'm running for a second term, so I've been on this board for 4 years along with Zachary Dorholt. And I love to bridge the community in ways like this. I love both dogs and cats. So basically, I now have all your vote because I love both of them. I try to use a little bit of humor, but this is serious business here, and I love our district, and so do my kids. Thank you.
Heather.
Good evening. My name is Heather Weems. I am running for the first time, but I want to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this forum for us to share perspective. Obviously, with the attendance that we have tonight and hopefully people online as well, this is an important issue. I am a longtime athletics administrator at the college level. I'm currently commissioner of the National Collegiate Hockey Conference, previously the 10-year AD athletics director at St. Cloud State University. I'm also, just as importantly, a mother to 4 boys who are in the district or were in the district, and the daughter of a teacher with a longtime teacher. I'm running because I believe that all students deserve to feel welcomed and to have a sense of belonging within our schools, that our teachers and our school administrators have to be supported and empowered to deliver relevant and challenging curriculum, and that our community really needs us. They need us to deliver on a strong and meaningful education for our young people. The role of a school board is to provide advocacy and accountability in the best interest of our students. I'm committed to serving as a positive voice.
Thank you, and I've been handed a note asking the candidates to be sure to speak up or get closer to your mic. And we're going to start with our first question. And the question is, the District 742 mission statement reads as follows. Our mission is to provide a safe and caring climate and culture in which we engage, inspire, educate, prepare, and empower all learners in partnership with their surrounding community to be successful in today's and tomorrow's society. Do you support this mission as is, or do you believe it needs to be revised? And if so, how? And we are going to start with Nicole.
All right, can you hear me now? I know that was directed at me. Probably. I do support the mission statement. I agree that all students deserve a safe and caring environment in our schools. The purpose of our schools is to educate our children, and if they don't feel safe and included, that is hindered. How we go about that might be a little different between members of the board, but I believe that schools as a whole are safe. I believe our teachers are safe. So yes, I do agree with the mission statement. I would maybe move educate up on the list a little bit since it's down there quite far, but otherwise, yes.
Heather.
Yes, I support the mission statement, and I think there are a couple of items that are brought out that are extremely important to our students. First of all, the safe and caring environment. We all know that we do better when we feel like we're supported, when we feel like we can focus on what's at hand and the task at hand, which is learning. So having that safe environment for our teachers and students is critically important. From an engagement and inspiration, preparation perspective, if you think back to your own schooling, in many cases we've been inspired by teachers. I could probably list every teacher I had from kindergarten all the way until I graduated. And that's because they make a difference in our lives, and that's because they're really important. And that engagement and feeling belonging, a sense of belonging wherever we are, leads to success in all different aspects of our lives. And so I think that mentioning and bringing out that engaged, inspired piece is really important. Preparation is that next piece. The reality is, in a global society, what we're asking students to do today is very different than it might have been when I was in school many years ago, and some of you even longer ago. But we need to prepare them for the world at hand, which is maybe not the world that was here yesterday. And that is part of cultural awareness and just being open and willing to hear new ideas. And finally, the partnership piece, I think, is critically important in the community of St. Cloud. How we interact with parents, how we interact with our community businesses means that we are meeting needs and we're meeting demands and we're creating an environment for the community as a whole.
Natalie.
Yes, I agree with what Heather said I agree with the mission statement, and I really strive to live that out in these past 4 years of being on the board. And what Heather said in her opening statement of all students deserve to feel welcomed, you see that right here in our mission statement, and that is something we talk about a lot at board meetings. We also talk a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the board meetings, because some of our students are coming to us with more needs than just to be educated. And if you don't feel safe, if you're hungry, if you're living at or near the poverty line, if you were experiencing homelessness last night, there are some things first that are addressed by teachers before the day even starts in their learning. And that's why we have the best teachers around who know every student and know what's going on with their families and are able to give those wraparound services or bring others from the district who can do that. I want to share a story to end this, that my 8th grade teacher, Mr. Souza, who taught me math, he came to me beginning of 8th grade and he said, I want to put you in a higher math class. And I'm thinking to him, like, I love music, theater, like, what are you doing to me? Why would I want to do that? But he said, just try it for a couple weeks and see. And I actually really did great at it, surprisingly. I guess my dad is an engineer, and so maybe I got some of that from him. But what I want to say there is that it's not only to educate, to engage, and all of the things that you see here, the verbs, but that inspiration was what caused me to believe in myself, even as an 8th grader. Thank you.
Theresa.
Thank you. I totally agree with the mission statement. It is out there to support the teachers, the community, the parents, the students of there. I totally back up Nicole. Education is why kids are at school. Education needs to be definitely bumped up in that list of why people go to school. School should be the safest place. When you send your kids away and they are literally at school for 8 hours a day, you need to know that they'll come home safely to you. In the community, we do have an increase in issues with bullying, so those are issues that need to get resolved. Schools are an excellent place to adapt, to grow, to meet, to create lifelong relationships, to get to know your teachers, and your teachers are supposed to inspire you. And in District 742, you have a lot of support, working with teachers, working in the special needs community. I was also at St. Cloud State, student teaching different things at Apollo at one time. The teachers know their students, and the relationship they had there was just amazing. I was so inspired by so many teachers there. School is to prep you for the world, for what you learn in school you will take with you for the rest of your life. So schools definitely, they need to educate you and prepare you for life.
Zachary.
So our mission statement is long and it's all encompassing. I see it as something fluid, which can always use adjustments because change is constant. If I were to make anything maybe a little beefier, it would just focus a little more on maybe more clearly identifying how we are actively engaged in preparing our students for 21st century workforce.
Mike.
Yeah, so I think the mission statement is great. Safe, caring, engaging students, inspiring them, educating them, preparing for their future. That's a great mission statement. But as Nicole did say, I too believe that we should maybe move education or educate up a little bit higher on that list as one of our main priorities, because in a lot of conversations with current community members or parents of students, the overall consensus of concern that I have heard is that the children are graduating, or some of the children are graduating not ready for today's society and not ready for today's workforce. So I think, that's something that we can definitely focus on moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number. The St. Cloud School District has a 2022-2025 strategic plan that includes 5 focus areas, which are a positive climate and culture, instruction that produces positive outcomes, innovation, career and post-secondary education options, and family and community engagement. What is your understanding of the district's strategic plan, and how do you see your priorities working within the strategic plan? And the first question this question goes to Mike first.
The strategic plan. Could you repeat that again? That was a lot.
Certainly. The St. Cloud School District has a 2022 to 2025 strategic plan that includes 5 focus areas, which are a positive climate and culture, instruction that produces positive outcomes, innovation, career and post-secondary education options, and family and community engagement. What is your understanding of the district's strategic plan, and how do you see your priorities working within the strategic plan?
Well, first of all, I'm new at this. I'm still learning as we go, but I think there are certain points of the strategic plan that I definitely agree with, and that we can all agree with. Helping students to create positive outcome and including community and family in education. I think that's all a very good thing, and that's basically what we're hoping to do as well, or what I'm hoping to see, as an outcome as being part of the Board of Education.
Nicole?
Yes, I would agree with the strategic plan. My priorities would be, we already just talked about the positive environment, and I think that comes naturally with how caring our teachers are in our district. I think that is also promoted by supporting and promoting parent-teacher relationships. I was really glad to see in the district this year that that was given more of a priority than it has in years past, with the conferences at the beginning of the school year and district going out to meet new students. I think those engagements are really important for teachers and parents to connect and know how to communicate with each other and know how each family works. So we already have that, and we continue to grow on that. Instruction, I believe that we definitely need to make sure that with our changing curriculum that we're seeing in today's age, that we don't lose our academics in the new curriculums that are being presented. So academically strong curriculum. Innovation, absolutely. The world is changing every day. We need to see those computer and science classes continue, and technical courses being promoted. That goes into career and family and community. I think that is absolutely important, so that we're supporting our children at every level, and that we provide transparency for our district so that our parents actually know what's going on and that they have a true understanding of where their student is. Thank you.
Theresa?
Thank you. There's a lot to go into that question. I'll try to bullet point out for different things. A positive climate, it goes back down to safety. When you walk into the schoolroom, the teachers, the mood, the class, the kids know that they're safe, they do good. But if it's an unpositive work environment or study environment, it's hard to have that positive attitude. Outcomes and innovations, that's your goal settings. That's getting what motivates a student to excel, what makes them study for their test, what makes them do well in their sports program that they're going into. And those are all things that the district's working on. And are there ways that you can hear from the community or parents to bring that better? Absolutely. I know in high school and there's continuing studies where you could take a lot of college courses down in high school, and I think the district has done an amazing job of that. But before you can go on to the college levels, you have to have a good foundation, and that starting in kindergarten and elementary school. So making sure students are ready to take on that college environment, and not just the children that are in the higher ed courses. It's all children should have that advantage. And family, the schools and a lot of teachers I've worked with, there's a lot of good family involvement, but there's a lot of different dynamics in family. But it's a good program to have. Is there changes that could be made? Absolutely, but there's some things that are great in it.
Natalie?
So for y'all who may not know where to find our strategic plan, you can find it on our website. It's going to look something like this. Very small writing, so you can't see that right now, but just search Strategic Plan 742. There's a wonderful video from our new superintendent who explains it very succinctly. So it really is what guides us. So no matter who gets on the board this next time, along with the 4 people who will be on the board for the next 2 years, this is what we're going to do because we've set that priority. And so what we have now is what's called a rolling strategic plan, a little bit different than the strategic plans I'm used to working with in nonprofit world, but we talk about strategic planning every year. And we say, where did we meet our goals? Where do we need to have new goals? And we have that conversation consistently at a board level and then down into administration, all the way down to our students and our staff. The goals that I have, the top 3 goals that I came out with when I decided to run again, align specifically with the strategic plan. So it is about increasing our graduate rates, specifically 4-year. We're actually doing better than the state in our 7-year, but we do need to increase those 4-year grad rates. And that aligns with number 2, instruction that produces positive outcomes, as well as student achievement, having a growth mindset about that, instead of saying, here's MCA tests, the scores, and that's all we see. We need to have a bigger mindset than that. Finally, mental and emotional health of our students and teachers, and that's in number 1, positive climate and culture. Thank you.
Zachary?
Sure. So strategic plan is really easy for us, for everybody to get distracted by the flavor of the week, and it can, whatever hot topic that is, and it can distract us from the job we're supposed to do. So a strategic plan is grounding, right? This is what we look to when we get distracted. Hey, what are we working on? And 3 elements I think that we continue focusing on most is one with, I think everybody's heard, everybody's hiring, everybody needs good staff, right? And that is something we need to continue focusing on. And the strategic plan has parts of it have been in place. We have our Grow Your Own program with St. Cloud State University, where we're turning our former students into our teachers. That's awesome. We need to keep working on that. Community relationships. Recently, the school district has been building its relationships with, I'll be upfront, law enforcement and county prosecutor, right? We talk about safety. And part of the moving forward will be initiating things kind of like a community action team. We do it with adults. I work with them. We can do it with the kids. And then student voice, that's something a little new. We're asking students what they want, what they need, right? We're getting their voice. And I think that's another cool part of what we're going to learn from them moving forward with this plan.
Thank you. And your next question, only 1 sentence. Did I miss somebody? Oh, I'm really sorry, Heather.
That's okay.
Go right ahead.
I have a friend who's a printmaker, and she has a print that I really like that says, I have a strategic plan, it's called Getting Things Done. And I think that always reminds us that a strategic plan is a guide. It's a guide that helps us prioritize and think about what we need to do. And that, I think, is exactly what St. Cloud, what District 742, what the strategic plan does. I don't have the context probably that Natalie and Zach have as current members of the board, but it needs to be a living and breathing document. It needs to be something that as we adjust and we learn, we can make some change priorities if we need to because we see what's going on in our schools. In terms of the focus areas, from an environmental perspective, we need to meet students where they're at. They all come to us from different perspectives, from different backgrounds, from different homes, from different cultures, all sorts of things. And we have to be able to be nimble enough to work with each and every one of them to help them reach their priorities. The second is in preparation for life. There is the foundations of essentially reading, writing, and arithmetic that everybody needs to know. Those are the basis for all critical thinking. They're the basis for all advancement. On top of that, we have to understand what current events are, what history says, and be able to teach truthful and interesting and relevant information. And finally, we have to use a strategic plan to guide our budget decisions. There are always, I've worked in higher ed long enough to know there's always unfunded mandates. There's always things that are going to come forward, and we have to use it as a decision-making to be financially solvent in the work that we do while prioritizing our students.
Thank you. And now the next question. What are St. Cloud School District's strengths? And we will start with Zachary.
Easy question. It is our diversity. There's strength in diversity. And yeah, I'm going to name drop here someone I work closely with, Larry Haas. He would talk about his garden, talk about how there's no weeds in his garden. We can use some of those weeds to attract things we need. We are providing our students a global education locally here. When I say diversity, I don't just mean where people are from, but this is a huge district. We have farms, we have New Americans, we have a university and a community college right here in our district. And so our strength is we're lucky to have these entities right here. Partnerships with a major university, an awesome community and technical college, and we've got some neighbors at St. Ben's. So that's our strength. We're lucky to have those things and those partnerships.
Natalie.
Oh man, only a minute and a half to talk about that? That's tough. I'm going to use my kids as talking points here, but I want to just start with senior to sophomore classes that we have where my child really, my 18-year-old who's graduating this year, really did not want to go to St. Cloud State because he wanted to be with his friends, he wanted to be in band, he wanted to have that senior year experience, but he was ready for college level courses. So he's taking senior to sophomore classes at Apollo while still gaining credit for college. He also has taken many AAP classes, advanced placement classes, going all the way back to his freshman year. He will graduate with between 1 and 1.5 years of college under his belt. That depends if he goes to University of Minnesota or Stanford, which is his pie in the sky, and they don't take much of anything there because they're Stanford. But he knows what he wants to do. He knows who he is. He knows also who his friends are. And one of the things about his friends, who are the most wonderful group of 17 and 18-year-olds, is they know and love each other, and they move with each other. And here's what I mean by that. Our kids know, hey, to ask, hey, what's your pronouns? Because I've seen some of my friends' kids go through differences in gender. And as they say, this is my new name, or this is my preferred name, these are my preferred, there's so much respect within my kids and their friends, and we can learn from them in that. It's a beautiful thing.
Theresa.
A strength that I will talk personally about is my sister being in the special needs community every single step of the way through all of her grades, what those teachers did to her, the dedication they had not only to her, but to her classmates. It was just amazing to see they were there every single step of the way. There's a lot of community involvement in schools. We've got some great athletic programs. We have motivation. Teachers are there. Teachers know their students. So there's a lot of strengths in the classroom to the teachers, to the students, to the parents. We also have some great facilities. We try to keep up with the latest in technology out there for students. We give kids a good education, but I'm trying to stay very positive about it, but there's some things that need to be done as well in this school district in order to continue those and make them even better.
Heather.
This is an area where I think that we really need to shout from the mountaintop, that we are so much more than the two-dimensional reports that you look at on a website, that we have such incredible programs, starting with global awareness and cultural awareness, and the diversity that comes with that. We provide access and opportunity to a ton of young people from all different backgrounds. Secondly, academic programs, and I'll talk a little bit about my own family as well. My mom was a longtime teacher in what was identified as a blue ribbon school in Iowa. She taught AP classes and the higher end English classes. And as she was working with my son the last couple of years at Tech High School, as he was doing his AP classes and his PSEO classes, she continued to remark that she had never seen anything quite at this level that my son was experiencing. And she said, in fact, in Iowa, in the small town that she taught at, that sort of class wouldn't actually be supported because people would be scared of it, that he had to work really hard and he had to understand at such a high level what sort of education he was getting. So his writing skills are phenomenal. The strength of our special needs programs. We are known, and people come from all over the community to come to our special needs programs because they know the support and just the understanding and the learning that we create. And finally, the technical programs that continue at St. Cloud Tech and other things. Not everybody is meant for college degrees. That's not for everybody. But we also provide real services, real opportunities for students in non-college bound or technical bound programs, and that's critical as well.
Mike?
All right, so our district's strength, the popular theme seems to be to talk about your kids, so I'm going to do that. In 2016, when we moved back from China, my son was 7 years old and he was going into the first grade. It was March, it was towards the end of the school year. This poor kid could barely even say hello and goodbye in English. And here we did. We put him right in the middle of a first grade class, sat down with all the other kids, and he did great. Took a little bit of transition time, but they got him into the ESL program, and he flourished through that. So our ESL program is great. Also, as he was progressing through that, there was a lot of communication between teacher and parent, whether it was his first grade teacher or the EL teacher, and we would ask them questions, and they were really good about, communicating with us and sharing different ideas and what we could do at home to help him as well. So that was really encouraging, and that was one of the reasons why we decided when we moved back to stay in St. Cloud, because I had also had such a great experience in 742. I just think back to when I was at Westwood. You were always able to see a lot of the special ed community at Westwood, and Westwood has been known for its special education programs, which are phenomenal. So I think there really are a lot of strengths that we have in our district, and I think we're very lucky to be here.
Nicole?
I'm going to start off by saying that our staff is absolutely amazing, and they do get to know each student, and they support each student. The diversity in our district is actually, I think, a plus, and we can draw knowledge and just everyday learning from our friends around us. So I think that is a plus to us. We can pull resources from the diverse community. I also believe that, like Natalie and Theresa said, and Mike now, too, that our special education program, which I'm proud to support as a teacher in the special ed district, is phenomenal. We pull from the private schools, we pull from other communities because the program is so good. Another thing I really like newer this year anyway that I've noticed is our community connection, especially with our Facebook, they're not ads, but our whole district outlook. So usually it's, by school, like school spirit, but this Facebook just provides the district support for each other, and we can celebrate with each other. It's great to know what other kids are doing in the district, how far they've gone in state competitions, what they did at their school that day. So I just think that's amazing, and thank you. Time goes quick.
And the next question is what are St. Cloud School District's areas for improvement? And Nicole, we're going to start with you.
One of the weaknesses is transparency. I believe that parents need to be put back into the equation a little more frequently than they are. I believe that as it is set up currently, teachers, parents, students tend to be afraid to voice their concerns if it doesn't follow the current dialogue that's going on. I've heard that from colleagues. I felt it myself. I felt it from students. I've actually talked to several different families that have left the district. We are having a declining enrollment, and that needs to be fixed for a variety of reasons, one including budgeting. To keep our programs going strong, we do need the budget there to support those programs. So looking at why we are losing students, listening to parents, listening to the community, and letting them know that they're not alone. I do support having our public comment portion of our before the school board aired, so that teachers and everybody can understand that they're not alone in some of their beliefs and not felt like, you know, they are shut down. We just need to listen and transparency.
Zachary?
We're about transparent as it gets. Our budget is online. Our strategic plan is online. We live stream all our meetings. We're a big district though, so the perception that things aren't transparent because, yes, everyone gets lost in the shuffle. So we need to improve on making sure our students and our staff and teachers are heard. And I believe with our new superintendent, that is way up here as a priority. That comes with the burden of being a large district. One of the other things I think we've, I'll say we've failed to move on is we didn't pass the referendum for Apollo years back, and that needs to be addressed. That is what I see as one of our largest deficits right now. It's a great school, and we also have tech, right? And we have to make sure Apollo is a priority moving in the future. And we definitely have things to move on safety. We continue building our relationships with the community, continuing our efforts with secured entrances, so facilities, we have some work to do there.
Heather?
I think that anytime you have such a wide spectrum of needs as our district has, it always puts some tension in what we're doing. And so we need to continue to be able to address that and meet, whether it's ELL students, whether it's special needs students, whether it's our top students, we need to continue to be able to prioritize and think about how we meet a wide spectrum of needs. I think we have opportunity to fund extracurricular opportunities at a higher level. I'm a believer, obviously I have an athletics background, but I also love the arts, I love theater. I was involved in those sorts of things. And the soft skills, we know that employers want soft skills. And in so many cases, our students learned through those different extracurricular activities, not just to play championship sports or not just to be on a stage. They learned how to interact with one another. They learned how to come back from failures. They learn how to work in teamwork. They learn how to be a center stage. And we know that our employers are asking for that. And so we need to be able to deliver that for a lot of our high school students and middle school students who need that sort of participation. And finally, partnership with the community to showcase our strengths. There is a perception in a lot of cases that isn't always true about safety and about diversity in the St. Cloud schools. And we need to continue to market and showcase the strength of our programs so that people see this as a viable place to send their kids to school.
Mike?
Great. So yeah, a lot of strengths, but I believe there are a lot of areas that have room for improvement. And probably the first one that I would bring up or place emphasis on is academics. We can go back up to 5 years, and our proficiency rates in math, reading, and science are not impressive by any means, anywhere from 26 to 38% proficiency rates. So there definitely needs to be a better focus on academics and how to ensure that our students are retaining or obtaining and retaining those skills. Another one is discipline. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about bullying, and I believe that bullying, a lot of the bullying can be curbed through discipline policies. So looking at discipline policies and making sure that those are being enforced. I hear a lot of stories from my son who is in the school. He's at North Junior High. Lots of stories about discipline not being dealt with. Also transparency. We hear a lot about students' voice, but my question is, what about parents' voice? I think we need to place more emphasis on parents' voice as well, because those are the students' parents. Also diminishing program attendance, things like our music programs and our sports programs, we're seeing a decline in attendance on those. So looking into that and seeing how those things can be dealt with as well. Thank you.
Theresa.
So different areas that I can see for improvement in St. Cloud area. One is safety when kids go to school, and that encompasses bowling. That encompasses school shooting threats that we have had in this district. And know that when you're in the classroom, you are the safest thing. You have the support of not only the administration, you have the support of the principals, the district. Teachers can actually discipline and have orderly conduct in their classes. Education, backing up what Mike said, yes, our math, reading, and sciences, there's not one grade over 50%. And that's just showing our kids are not getting the basis of the education they need to continue on. Transparency in our schools, from the parents to the teachers. A parent has the right to look at anything that their child is being taught in the schoolroom, any medical records, any issues that they have a right to have access to. Our teachers need to be supported. Our teachers feel that a lot of times that they have no one to turn to. They don't, if they speak up, they can be threatened with termination, or they have other issues there. So we need to support not only our parents, our teachers, and our students. We have a low enrollment in sports. We have two major high schools here, and we can't even put together a full hockey team for each of them. So you're looking at, we have a low enrollment in sports and extracurricular activities. And bringing up our test scores, which show that, getting back to our education. So there's different areas for improvement.
Natalie?
You know, we definitely have opportunities for growth, and it goes back to the growth mindset that I talked about before, of how we're teaching our students and we're encouraging our teachers and our staff to come with a growth mindset. And so I want to encourage our community to have a growth mindset about our schools. I mean, you hear from people who are maybe as different as night and day that we have some really amazing teachers. We have some amazing programs, and we do have opportunities. But if we can change the negative narrative that isn't actually based in fact about St. Cloud School District, our community will thrive. We are all neighbors, and we need you as our neighbors to partner with us in that messaging. So more specifically, I did want to say, Nicole said our enrollment is declining. We just got the numbers, and actually our enrollment is neutral. We are seeing a lot of growth in our lower grades. The areas for improvement that I mentioned, one was grad rates, specifically for four-year grad rates. We want to see our kids graduate in 4 years, not 7, even though there is that option. And what we're doing for that, excuse me, is credit recovery during the school day and after the school day, so our students can catch up when they need to catch up. Mental health, like I talked about, we have so many local partners in mental health that when a child needs to have some help, we have some help ready for them. And finally, for our student achievement, it's data. Data, and not only do we see the data, but how do we work with the data? And we have experts that work with our community on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question. I got her this time. School safety is a topic of current concern to students, parents, teachers, and administrators. Proposed solutions range from advanced security systems and new building designs to training school officers and arming teachers. What are your thoughts about ensuring school safety, especially given the number and type of schools in the district? And the first question goes to Heather.
School safety is obviously it's not just school safety, it's community safety. We would be lying to ourselves if we think that it's just in the schools. I actually lived a couple miles from Columbine High School when I was in Denver, which was probably one of the first major episodes of school safety. And that was in a neighborhood that was very affluent, that was very high end. So to think that it's an easy solution is not that. But I think that it all relates around community partnership. We need to be having honest dialogue with our families and our partners in law enforcement. We need to be thinking about how we invest in facilities to make them safer. Our older buildings, and again, coming from St. Cloud State, older buildings are harder to secure because of the numbers of doors and access points. But I think the last part also is we have to create a welcoming environment. People who, or students who we see who create some of the unsafe issues generally have something going on at home. They have something going on in their lives, and they're reacting to that. The mental health support that we provide to students is critically important. The family support, there is a difference sometimes in socioeconomics and their background. We need to address all of that as a community and not just look to the schools to be the solution. We have to see that as a community issue and a partnership opportunity.
Natalie?
Yeah, I really like what Heather said there about really talking about what school safety means, because yes, we are adding controlled entrances at many of our schools, and that's really important so that when we have someone walk in, we have eyes on that person right away. It hasn't happened everywhere yet, but we are slowly getting there. Apollo definitely is an outlier there, and we need a referendum for that. What else does school safety mean? If you look at the Minnesota Student Survey, kids are telling us when they're unsafe. And when I went to the presentation of the 2018 Student Survey, when I first when I first got on the board, the students who are most likely to commit suicide in Minnesota are LGBTQ plus students. And so people can roll their eyes talking about LGBTQ plus, it's a life and death issue. And so when we have students who are hearing from our community, then they're not affirmed for who they are. I hear students that are LGBTQ plus say, am I safe in that place? Am I safe in other districts who are taking down safe space stickers? And I don't want to ever hear my kids ask me, am I safe when I go somewhere? All kids deserve safety, and all kids deserve to be affirmed for who they are and loved. And what I want to say to end the school safety part is I think Dr. Putnam, who's our new superintendent, her mantra this year, every kid, every day, is school safety, because we have to individualize who we are to each kid. Thank you.
Mike?
School safety. That's huge. Watch my kid get on the bus every single day. As I watch the bus drive away, my first instinct is I pray for my child, for his safety, for the safety of all of our students, for the safety of all of our buildings. As a parent, I just care that my kid gets home safe, that he's safe while he's at school. For 8 hours a day, I entrust him to our district. What kind of a price tag can we put on safety? I don't think we can. You know, we hear a lot about, oh, well, we need all this money to update this building or replace these doors or locks, but we don't have the money. Well, in my opinion, maybe it's a priority issue. I just really feel like we need to place more emphasis on that, making sure that all kids feel safe at school, whether it's bullying or different social issues. But I do believe that if we enforce discipline policies, that our schools will see an uptick in safety and an uptick in less disciplinary need. So.
Zachary?
So yeah, number one, create a welcoming environment. It's a sad truth that a lot of our students' school is safer than home. And that's where we're at. Now, when it comes to getting some tangibles, actually doing something, there are models that work. One of them here locally is called the Community Action Team. You may have referred to it as the CAT team. It's made up of law enforcement, mental health professionals, the hospital outreach workers. What they've done is identified what they kind of call the frequent flyers, the people who are in and out of jail, in and out of the ER. Like, hey, this is the same people. These people need some help. They need some eyes on them. They need someone to connect with them. We can replicate this at the school level. It's a community action team. Because a lot of the people, the young kids who do cause trouble, they are in our schools, right? But it's a small group, those students. We know who they are. We can deal with them in school. The next step is integrating that connection within the community. Because we know a lot of these kids are going home to an environment that's worse than school. So it is a community thing. So I think replicating what St. Cloud and Waite Park and Stearns County have done with the Community Action Team, which has reduced recidivism, it's amazing. Look into it, I haven't seen it. We can do that with our schools. It's something that works, is tangible, and it doesn't involve a lot of money.
Nicole?
I'm going to start this one on a teacher perspective and a parent perspective. So I believe that to be safe, our classrooms need to be safe, our teachers need to feel safe. It's really discouraging when you are trying to teach a class of 30 students and you have a behavior outburst and don't get support for a very long time, and you continually have to call for help. That is one thing that I've seen in the district personally. It is getting better. I am super proud to hear of a new program that's being implemented. It's been at South for a little while, now moving to North. I'm really excited to see that so that we support our teachers. I had students, my own personal children, that were afraid in the classroom because of these behavior outbursts, that they weren't able to learn from the academics because they were so threatened in class. So enforcing policies. We do have the policies. We have great policies in this district. However, they vary in how they're enforced from school to school and administration, teacher to teacher. So I think that needs to be enforced. I feel like the e-hall pass that's been implemented is a great move. I do think it has room for improvement, which means somebody needs to be monitoring it. As a substitute teacher, as an assessment specialist in the district, I had no idea how to even give the students an e-pass. I wasn't given those permissions. So my students were out walking the hallways anyway when they needed to use the bathroom. Just somebody monitoring those. And I believe that I've been going to the school board meetings for the last few months, and we now have an armed police officer in the audience. And I think that our schools, if we deserve that sitting here and you know there's a threat, I believe our schools probably need to look at what resources we can pull into them from trained professionals.
Thank you. Theresa?
Safety, the word safety is a very broad topic. It comes in many different forms. It runs from everything from bullying to walking to that school door, to safety, to sending your kids away on that bus. There's issues on the school buses. There's issues in the classrooms. We have teachers that aren't supported. Kids are very smart. If you want to ask somebody how to do something, ask your child. They'll figure out how to unlock your phone faster than you can. And we need to challenge kids. They want to learn. And when kids are in school and they're like, well, I'm bored. Well, they need to be more challenged, things like that. But I have put out there many times, we need school safety officers, one in every single school. Why do we send our kids away and can't give them the same support that we can out of a school board meeting? There's money and there's budget for safety. Those are a lot simpler ways to do it. There are currently 9 states that allow school employees to carry a firearm at school. And you look at the attacks or school issues. Everything from bullying to school attacks to school shootings are pretty much non-existent in those states. Do I support arming teachers? There's different ways to do this. I think everyone has the right to bear arms, but there's pepper gel guns. When a teacher is being attacked by a student, they have a right to defend themselves. And maybe it's not even just a student, it could be a perpetrator. But there have been situations like that. You have to defend yourself when under attack. And I don't know, maybe other options, hall passes, things like that work, but cameras in classrooms in the event that something happens. It's not always the teacher's fault, it's not always the student's fault, but figure out what happened.
Thank you. And the next question is, given the response during the pandemic to maintaining the health of our students, teachers, and administrators, what do you think we have learned about policies and approaches that might help in the future? And we're going to start with Mike.
Sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
Given the school district's response during the pandemic to maintaining the health of our students, teachers, and administrators, what do you think we have learned about policies and approaches that might help in the future?
Well, we did learn a lot through the pandemic in terms of education, whether it's on-site or remote. We learned a lot how children respond to those different types of education, again, on-site or remote. I think we learned a lot through, and I don't want to use the word failure, but I think we did see a serious decline in whether it was student attendance, student achievement. Now, some children did do well through the pandemic. My older son, he's a self-motivator, so he was up right away first thing in the morning, had his computer on. But a lot of kids didn't, and they don't have that self-motivation. And if they don't have a parent directly guiding them through the day at home, that can be an extreme struggle as well. So in terms of remote distance learning, I think we can see the negatives and the positives. In terms of mask mandates and different protocols that we saw within our buildings once the students were allowed back on site, I would never support a mask mandate. I think that where there's risk, there needs to be choice, and that should have been left up to the parents to decide whether or not they want their child in a mask. So overall, I think we learned a lot, but in terms of policies, I'm not 100% positive.
Theresa.
When you have a policy, it comes down to how is it enforced, what good did it do, what was done, did it outweigh the benefits and the pros and the cons that came from it? We have seen a decrease in grades. We have seen an increase in health issues, physical handicaps on kids not learning how to speak correctly or talk, down especially in elementary grades. We have seen an increase in, unfortunately, across the entire nation in suicides, issues in the home because they couldn't come and be around their friends. There's a lot of depression and an anxiety, and kids are living in fear. And the worst thing you can do to those kids is have them live in fear and feel like they're all alone. I would never support putting on a mask on anybody. That's not my decision. Is no one's decision but to make, except for the parent, to make that decision of the medical of their minor who's in their charge under the age of 18. And I did not and would not support a mask on anybody. It's in the special needs community. With my special needs sister, they wanted to mask her with her disability. And that would have been more detrimental than any good it could have done. So it comes down to a parental choice and a parental decision. There's also a Minnesota law that states that you cannot have a face covering in any public building or any governmental institution, which includes schools, and a policy does not overrule the laws.
Zachary.
I think the question was about policy. Everybody has been through a very awkward and turbulent past couple of years. All of us. Tensions were high every day. I work for a very large healthcare organization. Every single day, they had to incorporate the rapid response team one way or another to make decisions that we tried to take guidance from the best we could. So I think what a lot of agencies learned, especially school districts, because we hadn't been through that before, right? This, at least not since maybe the late teens, which my great-grandmother actually died in the influenza pandemic of 1918 there. And we, as a district, had the same thing. Not just us, our district, but every district in the country, every community around first world countries had to develop this kind of rapid response for things that were changing every day that we didn't understand. And when we don't understand things, we become scared. When we're forced to go through change, it creates anxiety, even if it's for the better. I'm not saying this was, but we learned something. I think one of the most important things is more community involvement with those rapid response teams if we ever have to face something like we have before. So that would be the one policy thing I think we could pull out of that.
Nicole?
Is it on now? Okay. So as for our response during the pandemic, I'm going to agree with those that stated that I would never vote for a mask mandate. As Zach said, I think he's spot on that it caused a lot of anxiety where it wasn't needed. We watched districts around us not masking students, and we lost a lot of students to those districts. They remained open. Our private schools in the same community remained open and unmasked the entire time. I know this for a fact as I was in them with this district, going over there and doing assessment specialist. One of the things that we saw is a decrease in attendance, which was really hard to get back. I think we're still seeing issues with attendance. When I went in to be an assessment specialist, it was very hard to track down the students. I would sometimes go there 10 different days to try to get the student that, like Theresa mentioned earlier, the kids are really smart, and they knew that if they said they had a headache or something like that, they got to go home for a few days. So I think we learned that students need to be in school. Zach mentioned another great fact that a lot of our students are not in homes that have supportive parents, and they don't have parents that are doing as great a job as some of those teachers and keeping track of some students do. Mine were fortunate enough to have me working for them. I think the district lowered their standards during this time and supported a pass-fail grading system, which actually lowered those standards even further. Again, I saw this with my own children and my students. So I do think that parents need to be involved in these choices, and thank you.
Natalie?
You know, like Nicole said, I think we all know kids need to be in school. But what else I learned during that time is teachers are priceless. I already knew that. I come from a long line of teachers. But suddenly, I heard a lot of people saying, hey, shouldn't we pay teachers more? Like, shouldn't the federal government do something about that? Because we realized as parents having to figure out how to work a job, couple jobs, and basically help our kids at home, it was really difficult. And I'm just so thankful for teachers during that time that just went with the flow. Every day was a little bit different. We were figuring it out on the fly, like Zach said. I really had a moment where I realized that my personal thoughts and practices are not as important as expert opinion. And the reason I say that is I was 100% on board with a mask mandate when CentraCare said we needed it. The minute that CentraCare said we didn't need it anymore, then I said we don't need it anymore. I am not a doctor. Most people out here are not doctors. We trust medical professionals when it comes to something medical. I trust educators to educate my kids because that's what they went to school for and that's what they're experts in. One thing I think we really learned and I've done differently in our practices is us as administrators, principals, teachers, going to families, going to their house. I got to go to St. Joe and welcome all the new little kindergartners earlier this year. It was beautiful. And that's us going to the community and not just expecting them to come to us. Thank you.
Heather?
Thank you. I was front and center in this as athletics director at St. Cloud State. We were trying to get our students back to competition. And so what did I learn that I think relates? First of all, that in a novel event, you simply don't know what you don't know. And so part of it was taking the information that we had on a daily basis, trying to trust the experts to figure out what the next steps were. I think the next piece was we had to prioritize something. So for instance, at St. Cloud State in athletics, I prioritized keeping our students engaged because I knew how important that was. Now, that meant when the university closed and they went home, and we had to continue to think about how to use technology as a way to engage them. But as soon as they were back on, I was very adamant that put your masks on because that enables you to continue to be involved. And I know I would be the first to say I don't love masks. But I also knew if we could keep our students safe, if we could keep our coaches safe, that meant they got to participate, they got to go on the road, they got to play games. We did a ton of testing and mitigation. We learned those sorts of things. I think we learned that there's a huge disparity of home environments and we have to adapt resources appropriately. And in some cases, we have to provide resources and financial and computer resources and all of those sorts of things. And we have to be able to act on that really quickly. We have to be innovative. We turned really quickly as a society to learning how to use computers better, learning Zoom calls. Yes, they got tiring, but it asked us and it required us to think differently. And I think that we rose to the occasion in a lot of ways. And lastly, I will end in being in class matters, that we need to do everything we can to support our students and make sure that they have an engaged environment.
Thank you. And the next question, which will be the last regular question. If elected, what are the 3 most important priorities you hope to address? And Heather, we're going to start with you.
My top 3 issues, one, that we continue with relevant and innovative curriculum. We need to ensure that we are preparing students for success in life. And recognizing the foundational achievement gap sort of issues that we have in reading, writing, and arithmetic, so to speak, but understanding that we have a student population that comes from all different backgrounds, and that impacts our graduation rates, that impacts our progression. We can't forget that in environments that are less diverse, they have less challenge, and we need to make sure that we're addressing those needs. Secondly, continued support of teachers for a safe and welcoming environment. Again, we all know that we do better when we're supported, when we feel comfortable, when we feel people believe in us and they reach out and make us feel welcomed. And so continuing to come up with practices and policies that support that. And finally, community and community partnerships and student engagement. That the community and parents and families have to feel welcome. They have to have a voice. I'm also adamant that that voice has to be respectful and honest. We need to have hard, honest dialogue. We also need to do that in a respectful way. And to be honest, I feel like we're terrible models for our kids right now. That we need to show them, we need to develop for them the way that you talk to each other civilly and that you compromise and you find consensus, because right now I would probably give us all as a society a failing grade on modeling to our students how to act.
Natalie?
Thank you, Heather. I really agree with that our kids are looking at us. And my kids do what I do a heck of a lot more than they do what I say, for sure. I already told you about my 3 goals, and so I'll say them again. Raising the grad rates and keep for 4-year grad rates and keeping that growth in our 7-year grad rates, continuing to improve our mental and emotional health that we're giving to students and staff, and then our student achievement and having that growth mindset. So since that's the 3rd time I talked about that with y'all today, I also want to say that when Theresa said our schools should prepare you for the world, that's exactly the strength of our district. I was not prepared for the world that I went and taught in by graduating from Sauk Rapids in '97 and graduated from Concordia Moorhead in 2001. I went and taught in Atlanta, a very, very different place than I grew up in, and I wasn't prepared. And I had to get prepared really fast. And so I know my kids will be more prepared than I was. Lastly, I just want to continue to support the innovation that Dr. Putnam and her team are bringing into our district. We had innovation, but maybe we called it a bunch of different things. Now we're saying innovation is the way we're going to hear student, parent, staff voice. Not only the how are we going to do that, but we're going to do that more than once a year. Right now we have, okay, here's the MCAs, here's the students, Minnesota Student Survey, here's the end of the year survey. Well, by the end of the year, what can we do about it anymore, except for do better than next year? So we want more hands-on listening from students, staff, and parents. Thank you.
Nicole?
My priorities would be to focus funds and curricula on basic disciplines and skills that prepare our students for functioning effectively and to succeed the best that they can at their level. To achieve that, I do believe that we need to raise our academic proficiencies. To do that, we need to support our teachers. We need to put bodies in the classroom, professionals that can help them out. We do have a very, very diverse school district, which is amazing, but our teachers need the support to be able to handle them. Our systems need the support to be able to handle all the diversity, all the different languages and abilities. So putting bodies in the classroom and putting resources like strong curriculum and other resources that they can pull from in the classroom available to them. We ask so much of teachers. We always have all these great plans for teachers, which all teachers are willing to accept. However, we don't give them the time or the supports to be able to implement them. I believe that there needs to be partnerships with teachers and parents. I've already talked about that. Transparency. I believe Heather nailed it when she said that we are role models, and it comes from the top down. As I've been campaigning, I can attest to there are bullies at every level, and it's coming from the top down. When we have probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to, because I think that we need to know that if you're going to say something that goes against what the narrative is, that you're not going to be bullied. We have, leaders in our community that are in charge of organizations that are quoted as sending out to members of the teaching community. This is a quote, so that some candidates limit our ability to teach in our classrooms. We need to focus our energy in teaching our students in our classrooms and not on battling with our school board over policies. And I question, does this welcome conversations?
Zachary?
Top three. 1, strengthening community relations so we can continue to graduate students who will become part of the world's best workforce. That's the Minnesota legislation put into place back around 2010 and passed in 2013 during that economic crash when a lot of us could look out our front window and see several foreclosures. We want Minnesota to continue to be a leader in providing the world's best workforce. So that means community relations with our parents, social groups, employers, and especially our higher institutions of education around here. Number 2, safety. I ain't gonna lie, that's legit. I do hear that concern often, and I believe that we can be really effective once we start engaging with our own community action team. And number 3, providing teachers and staff the supports and tools they need to meet our students where they're at. That is one of the toughest jobs I believe we have in our district. So providing teachers and staff the tools they need to meet all of our students where they're at, whether it's somebody coming from a home that's less safe than school or a super high achiever who we know is going to be going to MIT and working for NASA, so that they can all become part of the world's best workforce.
Theresa?
3 of the reasons of my top priorities of why I started running was budget, education, safety. Budget, there's different things that can be rectified in the budget. We're always talking about we need more and more money in order to do these changes, but the money's there. We just need to reallocate it to get it to the right programs that need it. We talk to teachers in the special needs community, they get allocated money, but they never see the money. So where does the money actually go? So we need a lot more transparency in the budget. we have an increase in administration, but we either have a decrease or neutralization in student enrollment. So that number keeps going up, but we can't give our teachers a raise. So maybe figuring out how to actually give our teachers a raise, because yes, they go through a lot of different things. Budget on buildings and maintenance and stuff. So there's things down that line, even where there's a lot of waste. And one of the biggest things with budget in this district, if you don't use the money, you lose the money. And I realize that goes to a state issue, but there's no reason to buy X, Y, Z and then throw it away or put it to auction the next year because it was something that was not necessary to purchase, but you did it because you will lose your budget otherwise. Education, we need to get back to the basics, which we've talked about. That's actually reading, writing, sciences, arithmetic, math, your sporting activities, your extracurricular activities, but give kids a good arithmetic class, give kids reading classes, get the alphabet back into our schools. That will bring up your education grades and help increase your academic scores, not lowering it in order to just get by. And school safety. We need to have the school as the safest place. Your kids have to have a positive environment when they go there, where that's no bullying, and teachers and students and staff are safe.
Mike?
Great. So my top three, my number one would be academics. I think we need to take a hard look at our curriculum, the current curriculum and any future curriculum. And I also believe that parents should somehow be involved in the choosing of the curriculum that's used in our district. You know, the specifics of that, I don't have anything for you right now, but I do believe there should be some parent involvement in the curriculum that our children are being taught. I also think that teaching policies should be looked at, and also supporting our teachers, getting input from them, things that they think work and don't work in our classrooms with our students, whether it's different demographics of students or age groups, hearing from them and letting them actually tell us the downsides or the negatives of the reality of the classroom. And also with academics, just back to the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic, sports, arts, you know, those academic things are absolutely detrimental. Number two would be transparency, some type of a transparent relationship, teacher-student-parent relationship, partnerships between parents and teachers and the district and the administration. I don't know what that all looks like, but I definitely do, you know, believe that students need to be, or parents need to be more involved with our district. Number three is safety. Teachers, students, parents, everyone needs to feel safe in our schools. I get that. Everyone wants to feel safe. And we need to let our children know that their safety doesn't depend on a safe space sticker. Thank you.
Thank you. We have reached the end of our time for questions and will now begin. Candidates, you will each have 1 minute to state why you think your qualifications are well matched with being a District 742 school board member. And we will begin with Zachary.
Qualifications, I don't want to list off my resume, but that's part of qualifications. I served in the legislature. I was vice chair of the higher education committee. I was part of the team that enacted the world's best workforce legislation. I want to make sure we continue doing that right here. Unlike some people running, I have children, school-age children who attend our schools. I get to have ears and eyes on things that are happening there. And I'm passionate about that. And I also understand there's this misnomer of transparency. I bet you everyone in this room is pretty busy, and you were busy when you're parents. We have parental 2018, we did have a forum. There was crickets that came. Today, we have a large group. This is great. We have things in place. If you want to be part of our curriculum development thing, come on over. It's open. You can come. Past several meetings, nobody comes. Parents didn't come. They're open invite. I'm passionate. I love this town and this district. That's why I hope you support me.
Mike.
Great. What qualifies me to be on the school board? I was asked this in a few different surveys over the last few months, and my answer is pretty simple. I'll read it as it's written. As a parent of children within the school district and a member of the community, these two attributes more than qualify me to be on this Board of Education. I don't have any fancy qualifications, nothing shiny. I'm a parent. I'm a dad. I care about my kids and I care about the kids in our district. That's about it. I'd be honored to sit on the board and serve our community. Thank you.
Natalie?
Thank you, and thank you again to League of Women Voters for putting this on and for all of y'all for being here tonight. So I am one of 3 folks up here that are teacher endorsed by the St. Cloud Education Association. It's myself, Zach, and Heather. I'm also endorsed by Out Front Minnesota, who is an LGBTQ plus affirming organization. But in the end, actually, it's really not about me. It's about our students, it's about our families, it's about our teachers, and it's about our staff. On November 9th of 2018, after I won my first election, I went to the mall with my kid to get some new tennis shoes for them. And I walked around, and every family I saw, every person I saw, my shoulders became more and more and more heavy because my community tasked me with 1/7 of the board. And that's a huge weight because we have 10,000 students. We're the second largest employer in St. Cloud. We have to get this right. And having a teacher's endorsement probably means I can get it right. Thank you.
Heather?
I think in essence, I have a passion for education, and I think as an administrator for the last many 20-some years, I understand that this world of education is messy and it's complicated, and platitudes and negative marketing, so to speak, doesn't really solve the problem. The reality is these are our students, these are our kids, and they deserve our absolute best. They deserve us welcoming them all, regardless of their backgrounds and where they come from. They deserve knowing that we believe they matter and that we care about this community. And ultimately, as a 10-year resident here, I've been very involved in the community as a whole, and I believe in what this community can do. I also believe there's an imperative that we have to do it. We have to be involved. We have to get the community and the leadership involved in our schools to change the trajectory and to ensure that we are a welcoming and we are a desirable community. And I think that starts in a lot of ways with District 742 and the experience we provide our students.
Nicole?
I just want to, again, say that I'm a teacher, a parent, a community member, and I care. I care for our community, I care for our students, I care for our teachers, and I am a voice that doesn't shut down those that disagree with me. I have experience in gathering special education teams from all different areas and walks of life. The district has a lot of great things going for it and can be a shining role model in Minnesota. It begins with our dedicated staff and that care for our kids. I think we do have a lot of differences from members sitting up here on the board, but we do all have one thing in common, and that is that we care for our kids, and every parent, regardless of their background, their home life, they want our kids educated so they can have a better future. I think I can be that voice to help make our kids feel like they can succeed in their life beyond school. I see that I'm out of time, so I want to just end it with our schools are meant to teach our children how to think, not what to think. And so I thank you for all being here and listening, and I ask for your vote on November 8th.
Theresa?
What made me run was being a concerned taxpayer in this community. We all pay taxes here, and even if you don't have kids in the district, your taxes still pay for it. Education is the foundation of civilization. When you can think, you're educated, you can make the decisions, your choices for yourself. You can't be taken advantage of. America is the land of opportunity. It is literally called the melting pot of the world, and it's the last country that you have that freedom to do it. We all have the freedom to vote. We all have the freedom of choice. I do totally agree with what they said, is we all care. That's why we're all sitting here tonight. We want to make a stand and make a difference for our students. We want to bring up our graduation rate. We want to bring up our enrollment rate. But we want to give our kids a good education that is the foundation for them to succeed in life. We have been turning out more and more kids that do not have that foundation, and that's literally why I'm sitting up here on this board, because I see it. And I ask for your vote on November 8th. I'll do everything I can to build up this district and make it even better. And thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you to each of the candidates for running for public office and for participating in the forum. Thank you to members of the general public and the audience members present who submitted questions. Thank you again, District 742 staff, for the use of this room and for broadcasting and recording this event. Once the recording is available on the district website, we will post a link on the League of Women Voters St. Cloud area website, lwvsca.org. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not those of the sponsor. Sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement by the sponsor of any of the candidates. Now it's up to the voters. I hope you continue to become informed about candidates and issues. Let your voices be heard by voting. Candidates, good luck on November 8th.